Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Thank you very much for your time today. I'm Susie Guerrero, the Partner Marketing Manager at Pyramid Analytics, and we are very excited to be joining our partner, Evolution Analytics. I'd like to introduce you to the team with us today. We have Peter Morris, Pyramid's Senior Director of Partner and Channel Sales for North America, and Vince Belanger, who is the Principal at Evolution Analytics. And they will be talking about how to modernize your analytics without causing chaos. Then Yash Dalal will be doing a demo for us. He's Pyramid Solutions Engineer. And the webinar and demo should take about 30 minutes, and that will leave us for 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. If you have questions during the webinar, please do send them through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen as they come up, and we'll try and answer them throughout the session. If we don't have time to get your questions, we'll follow up with you afterwards. So Pyramid is going to be kicking us off today. Peter, please take it away.
Thank you. I'm Peter Morris. I'm with Pyramid Analytics, and we're very excited to partner with our friends at Evolution Analytics for a number of reasons that will become apparent as we go through both Vince's presentation and the demonstration today. But before we get started, just a moment to give you some background. Pyramid is what's next in decision intelligence. We are the next big thing. We have great funding from some very high-profile venture capital funds. The analysts absolutely love us. Our customers absolutely love us. And our partners, like Evolution, are extremely excited about us. On the next slide, you'll see why Evolution is excited to partner with us. We offer a decision intelligence platform that combines business analytics, data prep, and data science into a single unified platform built for the ground up for the modern data estate. The volumes of data that we see today, the velocity of data, the variety of data are all breaking existing systems. They are overwhelming existing tooling people are using. And so as Vince talks about modernizing your data estate, it's important to look to tools that are future-proof, platforms that will enable you to make that transition. And Pyramid offers a platform that allows you to access any data and deliver it to any person for any analytics need. And the next slide will tell you exactly how excited the analysts are about our platform. Our friends at Gartner have named us a visionary in their analytics quadrant. We are ranked #1 by Gartner for augmented consumer and analytics and business intelligence. We are ranked #1 for the business analyst use case. So Gartner is just one of many, but all of the analysts, Bark, Forrester, Dresner, all say wonderful things about us. They rank us as the #1 technology, both for today and for the future. And so Vince, I'd love to hear Evolution Analytics' perspective on how to navigate the future. So take it away.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Pyramid Analytics, for allowing us to be here today together and during this webinar. And I'm actually kind of excited. We're excited. For those of you that, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, if you're watching this and recording later on down the road. I'm glad you're here. And the reason why we're excited is Pyramid Analytics has really built a full enterprise BI solution. Not one that's been bolted together through 15 acquisitions, but thoughtfully and purposefully built across the spectrum. So you're going to see a demo and see a tool that handles data prep, workflow automation, all of, even plays the realm of data fabric, or leave data where it needs to be when it's appropriate, to be able to handle all your reporting and visualizations, and then all of the great stuff around decision automation and analytics and AI. So you have something that is now always planned for your what's next. And the one beautiful thing I also like is they also took a look back in the time machine and took care of things like pixel perfect and production reports for those which we still have organizations that are still doing bursted financial statements and other things that need to go out to 3,000 people. Well, it's about to have multiple tools. You have an entire platform that handles all that. But before we get there, allow myself to introduce me and EA. So I am Vince Belanger. I am a 20+ year veteran of all things data. I've had the opportunity to travel the globe to help organizations from Fortune 1 to $1 million startups, all how to use data as an asset. And I'm part of Evolution Analytics. We are a full service consulting firm founded by industry veterans similar to myself, data geeks, passionates, with a passion really to help organizations get better in their use of data. So at EA, when we say full service, we help organizations all the way across the spectrum, starting with front end strategy and roadmap, which spoiler alert, is going to be one of the things we're going to talk about, how to do chaos, how to modernize without chaos, and developing a roadmap that makes sense. Or when you talk about build, all those necessary components, from your modern data architecture to reporting and data pipelines to advanced analytics, and then organization design and processes and governance and master data management and all those capabilities. We spend a lot of time helping mid-market compete with data and analytics. In order to do that, you always need to be evolving or modernizing. So how do you do that without chaos? Well, at the end of the day, I know as a customer, you're getting hit with everything, right? Every day. Listen, there's a time in my career when a customer asks, have you ever worked with BI tool and insert name here? And I can sincerely and honestly look them in the face and say, yes, there's not a BI tool I haven't worked with, developed on, or help organizations through POCs and vendor selections on. The answer is that is so far gone out of the window. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tools out there. Take a look at the Gartner hype cycle, and there's a million new things you're supposed to be doing to modernize or be competitive with data. So how do you cut through the noise? Well, that's what we're going to talk through today. First, I love to build analogies. So we're going to start with something that maybe everybody can liken themselves to, which is health. If we want to, so we take the world of data and we move into our health. Let's just say me, Vince, I want to get healthy. What do? Do I go out to the web and figure out the newest diet plan? Do I purchase a new pill that just came out to help me lose weight? Do I just purchase a new gym membership or some new piece of equipment and then go from there? Well, maybe, but at the end of the day, that's not going to get you where you want to go. And I think we could probably all remember some times where we found some new one thing and maybe saw some quick results for a short period of time, but it's not sustainable. It didn't continue, and it kind of left you like the poor gentleman back on the right to where we started. So what was wrong with that? You didn't have a plan. What do I mean by that? In the health world, I'm talking about what is my goal? What is healthy to me? Is it losing weight? Is it cholesterol? Is it heart healthy? Is it something else? That is the why. What does this mean to you? What are you trying to do? That's going to drive the things. What does my exercise regimen look like? Do I need new equipment? Do I know how to use that equipment? So I do have a personal trainer. Do I know how to eat in the kitchen? What is my diet supposed to look like? Do I know how to cook and make myself the right foods in order to fuel the growth to what healthy looks like? Do I need someone that helps from a nutritionist perspective? Most importantly, do I even have the mental, am I in a good state? Do I understand what's going to happen? And there's going to be good days and bad days. So something, if I kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak, I know how to get back on, and realizing that it's a journey. It's not a quick one and done type of thing. So that's when I mean by plan. So let's parallel that into the world of data and analytics. So when we say that, and when I say you need a plan to avoid the chaos, you can't be chasing trends, those things you're going to see on the internet. Let's go back in the time machine, for example. Take big data or Hadoop. Yes, still relevant in some circumstances and has use cases in government, tracking all of our information, and in the telecom, tracking all of our information for the government. That's a whole nother story altogether. But the point is, there was a point in time in the market in the early 2010s, 12s, 13s, and I literally sat in presentations with vendors pushing a particular technology saying, you don't need a warehouse anymore. Just land all the data in this cheap commodity server hardware and everything gets landed and you can magically bring it all together and you don't need to spend all those times with data models and data quality and people get reports. Well, the answer is at that point in time, that was some marketing hype. And now we realize how far from what was really going to be productive is. So most of all those the deployments are now all defunct. 90 something percent of all those that were done under that premise are all gone, because we didn't have a plan and understand that technology. Even things like new hires, right? The data scientist or the CDO, the chief data officer. Hey, if we just hire this one role, which I'm a data aficionado, I love the title of a chief data officer, but why is the hire? How do they fit into the plan? Are we enabling that person? Will they have a seat at the table to drive change? Is the organization ready for change? Or we just hire someone hoping that they'll figure it out and leave them off to their own work, which in case we'll also find out 75, 85% of CDO roles move pretty quickly and they don't stay in a particular organization because there wasn't a plan to support them. So we need to stop finding quick fixes, and you need to have a plan. So now let's talk about specifically when you build that plan, what does that look like, right? What is a plan? What a plan is not is many times through the years, I'm just sharing anecdotes. I'll speak with a customer will say, hey, we have a roadmap. We just went through this exercise. And I said, may I take a look at it? And you review that information, realizing that the roadmap is just a list of everything that you should be doing. Hey, we're going to do self-service. We're going to do data governance. Hey, we're going to do some AI and some machine learning. But why? Those are just things that may be part of your roadmap or things you should be enabling, but why? So then let's talk about how you properly build that plan. And that brings us to our framework. These are the things. It's not super exciting, right? But these are the foundational elements that build muscle to help your organization modernize without chaos. So we start with business, and that's understanding really the same reason the why I want to get healthy. It's the business goal and business justification, those use cases. What are we going to do? What is the value to the business, right? That's why we make investments. That's why we're using data to compete, to be able to drive new revenue streams. So what are those things? And that's important because it helps with prioritization. It helps with value realization. It helps with getting the organization aligned, and ultimately helps the organization of why are we making these investments down our data journey. Then we get into organization and governance, right? How does an organization need to be designed? If we have a data scientist, what skill needs to be around that? Even there's so many articles talking today about upskilling our workforce. Upskill to what skills? That's why you need a plan. So that way you can intelligently bring your staff and your great people along on the modernization journey. And then governance, right? Not just, we'll get into data governance in a second, but think program governance. You have a roadmap. You have a plan with investments. Do you know how to manage those projects successfully? Do you know how to go get a project in flight? Do we know how to get funding to fund those projects to make sure that we can keep stepping along our journey? Then we have technical governance. If we're going to introduce a new technology into our information delivery portfolio, we want to know why. Do we already have something that does that? So we want to make intelligent decisions about technology we're bringing in to your enterprise. And then most importantly, which everybody can, when we say governance, data governance, which doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be complicated. We don't need to spend 6 months writing a data governance charter and a 50-page piece of article. It's about how do we just make some basic decisions around our data assets in our organization? How do we define metrics? How do we share this information? It's an enablement thing, and there's ways you can do that that doesn't have to be cumbersome to the organization. Then we get into the lifeblood, right? The data, the new oil, whatever we want to call it. But how are we managing data? Where is it moving from? How do we have data quality issues? How do we manage that? How do we understand how things are being defined and where data moves to? So we know that from source to it gets into the end user's hands, we're providing value. They know how that data has been defined, what questions they can ask of it, and what actions they can take or automate based on the information that's returned. And then the last piece, which is the piece that's more tangible and everybody seems to get excited about, which is it's important, which is the technology and architecture. What does a modern data architecture look like? What is the old school way of ELT on-prem to, data ELT, from ETL to ELT in the modern cloud architecture? And what does a cloud database do? And what are great tools like Pyramid, and how do they fit with our information delivery portfolio? So that way, as we start making a plan and put you in the driver's seat, that way we're making technology investments, we're maximizing those investments, and we're making them for the right reasons. So when you have that plan, and what does that look like? I just want to share this one little picture. To do what I just talked about, it doesn't take 6 months to create a plan. This is just 4 to 6 weeks typically. Coming in, identifying those use cases, understanding your current state architecture, defining a future state architecture to meet those use cases, going through your readiness assessment as an organization. Is your organization ready? Do you have change management in place? Because that's going to be big. What we did 5 years ago, we can't keep doing. And what we're doing today is not going to get us to 5 years from now. We're constantly evolving. So those things and disciplines are important in your modernization journey. Then we start doing value prioritization. So that way, when we start sequencing what happens first, how do we roll in governance, what skills do we need to bring on board to support, what skills can we outsource for volume and velocity, then we're making intelligent decisions along with our roadmap, which now we've intelligently sequenced temporally the activities over 6 months to a year. It allows an organization to set a cadence, to get alignment, and set a budget to move you down the data-driven journey. So tip number 1, which is have a plan. Put yourself and your organization in a driver's seat of what that journey looks like, not being chasing what's going on in the journey. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is, if you haven't done this before, bring in outside help. I'm always here to chat, and then you all have your own networks. Please don't feel afraid of bringing outside help. Now, for the most important of the journey, I'm going to click this over to my buddy Yash, and he is going to do a product demo for you.
Thank you so much for that, Vince. And I think you've really hit a lot of points that are important for that journey. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. If I can, let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see it yet? Vince, can you stop sharing real quick?
I did stop share. Yash, should be.
There we go.
You are up and running.
Perfect. So with this, I really want to start talking about the different pieces as far as the business analytics, the governance, the data itself, getting the right data where you need it to be, and the architecture. So the first thing that you'll notice is with Pyramid, we're browser-based. Now, why is this important? Especially from a governance standpoint. It's because it doesn't leave when someone else leaves with their computer. How many times has there been a situation where someone's report or something on their local drive, and then they end up leaving the organization, and that data the organization no longer has access to? Well, with Pyramid, that's no longer a problem. And that's really thinking about our architecture in depth for reusability and flexibility. So just to start, I want to start with our home screen and explain the different components that make up Pyramid today. So the first module we have is model. Now, model is the component where you start to do a lot of your ETL, the transformation and cleaning, and inject some of that data science and AI that Vince was explaining earlier. Next, we have Discover. Discover is where you are able to put together beautiful visualizations by dropping pills for measures and dimensions to bring things together. Next, we have Formulate. Now, Formulate's really interesting because what it does is let's Discover to create a drag and drop experience for visualization. Formulate creates a drag and drop experience for business logic. But not only does that business logic actually live within the report or dashboard or content that you're putting together, but it can be standardized across the organization. Think about that from a governance standpoint, because that means there's a single source of truth. So everyone coming to the table has the same conversation. Next, we have Present. Present is the dashboarding piece of Pyramid and why we are rated #1 for our self-service analytics. It's given business users the ability to make changes on the fly and really drive and drill down deep into the data itself for those insights to help the business's bottom line. Next, we have Publish. Publish is like present, but instead of a dashboard, it's what gives you your static report experience in a pixel perfect PDF, or it could be a PowerPoint or even an Excel doc. Just imagine about how much you can empower your organization by automating all those things. No longer will analysts have to start making spreadsheets, creating those visuals, copying those visuals into PowerPoint, or taking snapshots of dashboards so that they can put it into the presentation. This whole piece can be automated using all the pieces that I described before. And lastly, we have Illustrate. Illustrate is basically Pyramid's answer to creating infographics. So instead of having to trick visualizations into filling up a certain image or changing color or rotating, Pyramid has thoughtfully put that into practice as one of the components for our platform here. So from this, I'm going to go ahead and jump into model. So as you can see here, I have put together a model which has taken data from both SQL and Snowflake, created a series of transformations and joins, and even injected some data science and landed this in SQL for me to use as to create a semantic layer where I can start to get insights and create some of the other content I spoke about in the homepage. First thing you'll notice is that I've been able to use different data sources here. With the platform, we have a series of connectors that allows us to source and to drop or target different sources using SQL services or MBX-based sources, which really gives us the capability and flexibility to connect to almost everything. And for those things without a regular connector, there's also Python and R nodes and also OData feeds for easy API connection. And it's just as simple as dragging a node onto your canvas and then inserting your code. With this, we can also use different packages from Pyramid, which are easy to update, and we can save the different scripts within our platform itself for other users to use. Again, from a data science standpoint, that really enables people to get in depth. And also, it has a governance piece, so those scripts can be shared and aren't lost over time. So with that enablement, right, we also have the option to direct query straight from that source as well, so that you don't have to redo any work or ingest any of that data. One of the biggest pluses about the Pyramid platform is we do not require you to ingest data. You are the steward of your data. Now, what does that mean? That means that you can transfer that data, run migrations without having to wait for you to rebuild your reports. For us, it's as easy as a lift and shift due to the architecture we put together. Along with that, we have a series of nodes for preparation, for column operations, including calculated columns. But look at the full scope of machine learning that we give users the capability of doing. Anywhere from clustering, from k-means, to even TensorFlows and regression. That's really empowering users, because not only do they not have to go and learn a whole nother language like Python and R, they have this at this tip of their fingertips. And it's as easy as dragging this on, connecting your nodes to your data, and starting to choose input columns. As you can see here, I have this node where I've chosen my columns, automated the clusters, and even have a model score here. So I could start to compare different machine learning algorithms. That's huge. But for the people that want to take it to the next step, we also have those Python and R nodes where people can start to tweak and bring in more specified code. Again, reusability and flexibility. Why redo code you already have when you can bring it in here and save it and govern it in a way that the organization can benefit as a whole? Breaking down those silos that exist in a lot of organizations today. The next thing I want to show you is our master flow. That was one data flow. If I look into the data flows, you can see that I have stacked these into an ETL process, and I'm also bringing data from SQL Server and Excel into Snowflake. That's huge in the sense of now I don't have to go to different tools or different platforms to bring my ETL process together. On top of that, with the master flow, I can start to use things like conditional statements, messaging, loops, or whatever I need to make sure that this process goes through smoothly. For example, if I use this conditional statement, I can do something like this, where I launch a series of reports if this ETL process goes smoothly, or rerun it if there is an issue. It's that kind of governance, that kind of attunement that this is given you and makes it easier to maintain all the processes you have in place. From there, we also have our semantic layer that comes together. As you'll see here, I can start to put together these different relationships between my tables and form various hierarchies, including ragged hierarchies with orphan handling to show exactly what I want. That's incredible. I know in some other tools, it's a lot harder because you have to create those hierarchies yourself, and it isn't a drag and drop experience. Think about how this is really empowering your business users now. They don't have to go back and spend as much time developing. Instead, they're here actually bringing up analysis to the forefront. But let's think about how that looks like. But before I move on, I do want to show that all this can be scheduled, and our schedules can go as something as granular as every 2 minutes. So with that, I want to move on to the business user experience. Here you can see a report that I put together. In this report, I would like to first show you, if you look at this and you look at this source of these different visuals, you can see this first visual is coming from SQL Server, from the bike sales model. This visual is coming from HANA, from the sales model. And this visual is coming from Redshift. However, I never conformed these different data models, but when I click, they all work together perfectly. Imagine the amount of time that's going to save your users instead of having to go back and create a data model with all these different sources. I want you to sit and imagine what it would look like if you could start to click on these different visualizations onto a dashboard, such as finance and operations, and how that empowers your organization. But besides bringing these different sources together as easily and seamlessly as you're seeing here, you also want to empower your business users as far as your junior users and your most experienced users to get to the same insights. Well, with Pyramid, they can use the AI and machine learning on the background that really understands the semantic layer to get context and get insights like this. With our smart insights, you can see that there is a ton of analysis that's being run in the background. We can even do things like outlier analysis and when available, categorical analysis. And this is all done automatically, running different types of algorithms like decision trees, regression, correlation analysis, all without you having to dictate or touch anything. So with that, you start to get analysis such as this. Out of 1,300 items, the top 10 items actually account for 37% of returns. This is where the business user can start to contact the operations to say, what's happening with these items? Is it a manufactured thing? Is it a product thing? I really need to dig into this. Well, they can absolutely start to do that. As you can see this visual right here, you can see that there is the quantity sold versus returns by manufacturer. Automatically, I can start to see that certain manufacturers stick out. Well, let's dig in. And instead of just saying quantity sold and returns, I want to start swapping out for product. Let's look at product categories. Man, in relation to what's sold versus what's returned, you can see that relatively components as to sold versus returns are kind of off. So this is a good place for people to come in and start to use things like add, swap, and dice to get to that insight and have some decisions that can actually impact the business. But let's go a little further, right? One thing I've noticed is with this scatter plot, it's kind of confusing. I don't want to see a scatter plot. Well, let's use our chatbot and let's change it. As you can see, I can start to get whatever image I want, whatever visual I want, without having to go back to my data engineering team to create a new view, to go back to my BI team to create a different report. All this is done and housed within this report here. That's powerful. That's really, really supercharging your people and getting them access to that right data where they need it. So with that, I can start to use this natural language querying to really dive in to what I want to see. Let's go ahead and remove manufacturer. As you can see here, with our chatbot, it understands the context of that semantic layer so well that it could start to recommend different dimensions or measures to be removed or that I'm looking to remove. And with the click of a button, I'm able to do this. One thing that you'll notice is how quick and easy this is. The reason for that is our query engine Piranha. Our query engine is probably one of the best in the marketplace because what it does is it creates a where clause when it's going to grab the information it wants. Whereas in a lot of other tools, they grab everything or they ingest your data and then afterwards cherry pick what you're looking for. For us, that seems inefficient. We want to get to the data at the right time, at the right place, how we want very quickly, instead of waiting for all of that to load. But I want to take this one step further. I want to be able to ask actual questions to my chatbot about my data. I want to know the top 10 products by gross, by sales. And look at how quickly and easily I'm able to do that. And then come and change this visual to my bar chart. I did that all on my own. And what's great about this is each and every single piece of this capability can be turned on and off, which helps with that change management Vince was talking about. It helps with that governance piece. So now you can start to onboard and train your people in accordance to their skill set and what is necessary to build them up as a valuable part of your organization. So the next piece of this I'd like to show you is exactly the insights piece where I'm using those smart insights in a way to get context for all this information here. Why word through all of those details when I can just use one function to create a narrative from my data? For me to create this, all I had to do was use one function with the parameters true and 0. It took me all of 5 seconds. And now I have this beautiful visualization to send to my leadership with an accurate narrative of what's happening in my data. But let's go a little bit further. As far as data science, those two different algorithms I showed you before, I can now bring into my dashboard and show them side by side for accurate dimensional analysis and the impact of those algorithms on my data. Wow. But also look at how I can do forecasting. What's really interesting with this is that I'm able to do things like use workflows to start a conversation. Now, to start this conversation, I can start to add users and capture the data and the image that we're talking about for an accurate conversation and without having to go back and explain within that moment. On top of that, if I see an issue, such as a little spike over here, I could also start to put together a task. So I can start to assign tasks as far as different operations to say, this is something that needs to happen for the business to improve or to alleviate certain problems in the time that I'm seeing them. But that's in the moment. Why not be proactive? The other thing I can start to do is build alerts. So with alerts, I can say if sales dips within a certain amount or a certain or reaches a certain percentage, alert me. But I can choose how to be alerted. I can be alerted from a bulletin board, through email, through SMS, or even Teams and Slack through using our webhooks. That's amazing. That's power. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg where I'm showing you the presentation layer. I want to take a second to talk about what if you don't want to give someone access to the dashboard, or they don't need access to the dashboard. Let's go ahead and let's talk about publish. As my pixel perfect report loads, you can see that I am using the same exact visualizations that you saw in my dashboard. Now, why is that important? It's important because I didn't have to recreate a single thing. I had that reusability, and because of the scheduling and because of how integrated from start to finish the architecture for Pyramid is, I can start to do things like this because I have more time and I'm not redeveloping different assets. Instead, I'm reusing. And then I can also automate this and schedule this using different triggers, or I could schedule it on a reoccurring basis. Again, that is the type of power that we're giving you. Imagine your leadership getting a report that's pixel perfect and gives them the insights they're exactly looking for with the organization, pieces of the organization that are most relevant to them. With Pyramid, we can make this happen. But I've talked to you about some of the things that we have. Originally within our platform. The next thing I really want to talk to you about is the last leg of analytics. I've talked about descriptive and diagnostic, but what about prescriptive? Well, what Pyramid has done is put together another component called tabulate. What tabulate is a component that's able to create an Excel-like experience that's governed. Everyone knows in analytics that Excel is the last piece, and a lot of the business users will not get away from Excel unless kicking and screaming. Well, that's not an issue anymore. You can give them the exact thing that they want within a platform in a governed way. So as you can see here, I've opened up a tabulate. It looks exactly like Excel. From here, I can start to do things where I am using different discoveries that I've created to start really understanding and bringing my data together. So I'm going to bring this customer data from BW and this customer data from SQL here onto my canvas. As you can see, I can start to use Excel-like functions like VLOOKUP to start to use my data from my different data sources to get the insights I need. Now, I really want you to imagine how so many of your users would be excited to see something like this versus some new technology that they have to learn. A lot of the technologies you have to learn some new kind of syntax, something that becomes more of a bottleneck than an enabler. Your business intelligence platform should enable your organization, not entrap it. And that is one of those things that here at Pyramid, we really like to live by. On top of that, not only am I able to use these these Excel-like functions, I can start to create visualizations fairly quickly, which then I can use directly into my dashboards. But with Tabulate, not only do you have those Excel functionalities where you're able to bring two different data sources together in an Excel-like experience, you can also start to use Solver. Now here you can see all this different setup of what I put together with different constraints as far as energy utility goes, as far as the different sources of electricity they can produce at what cost and what capacity with limits on pollution. And I've created an optimization spreadsheet where I can look for, okay, what combination of these gives me the lowest total cost? Here you can see I put in my targets and my constraints, and I can use this as a solver. What's really great is not only can I use this here as seen as a solver, but I can use this dynamically within my actual presentation. Here I can start to add slicers and automatically come together and recalculate that optimization algorithm. That is where you're starting to get into what if analysis. I know I've shown you quite a bit here, but if you think about it from start to finish, everything that a person can need from an analytic perspective is encompassed in this platform. No more duct taping different tools together and hoping that they integrate for the insight or for the end vision. The vision is put together well here so that you are supercharged. I believe one of our clients called it a force multiplier. So with Tabulate, the last thing I kind of want to talk to you about is our security and our architecture. With our architecture, we actually can be deployed anywhere. We can be deployed on-prem, we can be deployed hybrid, we could be deployed in the cloud. We want to empower you and the architecture that you've already invested in so that you can get to where you're trying to go. On top of that, with our governance, you've seen me use our CMS, where I'm able to quickly navigate and get to whatever different components or content that I would like to, and use that within the platform itself. But the one thing that I want to show even more is we've even thought about it to a point where you could start to see versioning. You could start to see lineage. You can do all of these different things that really supercharges your governance standpoint, the business and analytics, and the data that every organization is using. For me, that has been something that has been super empowering. And for some of our customers, a good example would be the VA. It's been so empowering that there are two people that are able to actually maintain and govern reports for 50,000 users. That is incredible. That's the next step. That's really looking at your journey as far as how do we get to that next place with the tool set and architecture we have. So with that, I think the other thing I wanted to show you would be our embedding. So here is an example of Banco de Mexico, which is currently one of our customers. They're able to embed this and use white labeling into their current service. And it's usable with all of that different pieces of self-service that I spoke to you about. Imagine this, if you're not just empowering your internal users, but your external customers too. Think about the type of service and insight that you can give to them. So with that, I would like to just kind of pause and open up for questions. I know I've been speaking for a little bit, but I thought that might be the best way of going about it.
Doesn't look like there's any questions about the demo itself. We have a couple more questions coming through. If anybody has any additional questions, please send them through the Q&A at the bottom of your screen.
Great.
Vince, do you want to just take us to the Q&A question if you're done, Yash?
Sure can. Yash, if you could stop sharing, that would be wonderful.
Of course.
That was awesome. Thank you very much.
So let's see, there's some questions coming through. And Vince, I think you have a contact. Oh, you have one more summary slide. You wanna go through that, and then we'll go through questions.
And while we're good for questions, just to reiterate a couple things. One, Yash, thank you for that awesome demo. Every time I see it or get a chance to test the product and see where you're going, I get giddy being kind of a data geek through the years and the capabilities. So the short theme for everybody, if you want to modernize without chaos, one, if you don't have the skills in-house, don't be afraid. Get help, right? Have somebody come in and lay out that plan for you. Two, create a plan. That way you understand exactly where you're going. If there's bumps in the road, if the market changes, you know how to react. If we need to trim down a budget based on current economic conditions, we don't want to stop everything in progress, but what can be stopped and why, and then how do we pivot? It provides you a vehicle and a framework to do that. And then ultimately build with the right solutions. And I think you just witnessed, and I'll call this out, here is an enterprise solution, right? That's covered everything. And then, so whether or not you're all the fun marketing things going on with embedded analytics in your SaaS applications, check. I need a mobile, check. I want an enterprise BI solution, check. I want to be part of a data fabric or a solution, check. I want to not be bound by having to do 1 million extracts, or our data limit went above 10 gigs, so we can't load this one giant file out there and not use it. Check, 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 right? How do you create an enterprise BI solution that's going to handle everything you're doing today and everywhere you want to go? It's absolutely fantastic. Do these 3 things and you'll start heading down the path to modernization. So with that, Susan, we can open this up for questions.
Okay, wonderful. Yep, the couple coming in. The first one is, how is Pyramid different from the competition? Peter, this one is for you.
Thank you, Susie. So that's a great question. If you define our competitive set to be that which Gartner thinks is our competitor set, for example, there are 20 vendors out there ranging from small startups to traditional enterprise players. We differ in a couple of important ways. The first is we offer brand new technology. Our platform was designed very recently in the last couple of years from the ground up to handle the modern data estate. We are specifically designed to handle large volumes and distributed data sets. We also embed advanced analytics with augmented AI, augmented ML, augmented capabilities. So we offer literally the best technology on the platform. And finally, we are designed for business users to be empowered, both through the front end, where it is the most powerful platform out there in terms of allowing users to interact with the data and to collaborate with each other and to gain insights, but also on the back end where business users can use a no-code platform to build out very compelling analytics and data sets. So we are different in almost every possible way from our competition. We encourage you to reach out to Vince at Evolution, and we'll set up a demo and we'll show you exactly how we're different.
Great.
Great answer. Thank you, Peter. The next one is, how long does it take to get up and running? Yash, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, of course. Honestly, because of the drag and drop of nature of the platform, it's extremely easy to get up and running. If it's okay, actually, I'd love to show you my first dashboard. So a little context. When coming into Pyramid, this dashboard I created with absolutely no experience. I had never touched the platform. And within 3 weeks, I was able to create this dashboard that I presented internally to our company. So let me go ahead and share this, Vince, real quick. Yeah. All right. So if you look here, this dashboard, I was able to put together in 3 weeks from not touching Pyramid at all to doing something like this. It's a stunning dashboard that was able to use fraud data in which I can start to look at things and do different analysis. If you notice here, there is one image where there is the customer and then the hacker that is trying to get a hold of his funds. Because of things like Illustrate, I'm able to use this credit card as a way to show the percent of transactions that are fraudulent. That is the kind of empowerment and ease that Pyramid gives you to create something. It's easy enough for me to say, oh, it didn't take much time, versus here, I can show you exactly how much time it took me. And honestly, to be completely honest, those 3 weeks, I think a part of that, a good week of that, was me putting together my story for my presentation. So I think that really speaks to the ease and the learning curve. But on top of that, we also give users access to our LMS and our CMS group, which is amazing. We really believe in partnership, so we bring people together. You know, it's something that me and Vince have talked about, how we partner with customers and how we bring them along so that they are empowered and bringing them to the next step. We don't want you to feel like we've handed over the software and said good luck. Instead, we want to make sure that you're using it in the way that takes your organization to the next level. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you, Yash. So it looks like that's all the questions that have come through.
All right. Is that a wrap, team?
That's a wrap.
All right. So for everybody still viewing or watching this recording, thank you for taking time out of your day to listen, to understand some of the key things when you modernize, right? Ask for help, get a plan. There's some work to be done, but you can get there and select some great technologies, which I think loud and clear, we've seen that today. So appreciate everybody's time. Thank you for coming. And Peter?
Vince, thank you so much. Everyone, thanks for joining. Yash, fantastic job. Susie, really great to see you. Thanks everyone for coming today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.